The Outlanders Journey. Tier 1, Level 2. Chapter 10. Laurel. You now look forward to your brother's nightly sendings. Every evening, at roughly the same time, he asks simply if you are still alive and well, to which you always answer yes, regardless of the truth. So consistent and predictable are his messages that they give you a better sense of the time than anything else. You want to go home. You miss him so badly. You miss the theater troupe, the smell of the market district, the taste of pastries and cheese and bacon and ale. You miss Amena, the touch of her hands and lips. You even miss your parents, who haven't bothered to message you even once. Clutching you desperately, Maya Lee has closed her eyes, but you know she isn't really asleep. Behind you, Bach thrashes his arms around and mumbles Senos' name repeatedly. All these horrible things keep happening to them, and they're still not home. You're useless. The least qualified person in the world to be escorting them home. You're nothing. At a certain point, you have to wonder if they'd have been better off never leaving. Maybe, just maybe, Senos was right. You drift in and out of consciousness throughout the night, keeping an eye on the Everlight followers. Errol appears to be awake, though she seems to be meditating. You grip the dagger close to your chest. You should have known she wouldn't go through with some flimsy agreement, especially not after everything that transpired. Stupid. You're such a fucking moron. You knew it was a bad idea to stay with the orcs. You knew. You were initially against it, but you let your impulses get in the way. Again. But what else is there to do? If it's true that you can't get in without those badges, even at the western border, then you can't leave this group. You are wholly, truly powerless. The first glimmer of dawn tepidly enters the cave. It's no longer hailing, but dark clouds still loom overhead. At the very least, it'll be difficult for the soldiers to track you now. If it keeps pouring every night, though, your bigger concern will be staying warm. Your brother didn't give you a winter coat, since he didn't think you were going to leave. You'll be the first to freeze in this thin jacket. You pull your blanket tighter around your shoulders, and you hold on to Maya Lee. The sun coasts above the horizon, and more people begin to stir, groaning in agony as the wounds of yesterday also awaken. You realize that due to your lack of sleep, your magical stores haven't replenished. You're too tired to heal anyone, which would have granted you a bit more amnesty from the others. Even worse, you might collapse due to exhaustion, depending on how difficult the travel will be today. Someone begins to wail. A woman is shaking another person's shoulders, but they are unresponsive. Lasha rises to her feet and limps to the area. She leans over and shakes her head. They must have succumbed to either the cold or to their injuries in the night. Most everyone has woken up now. Bach groans and you shush and coo him back to sleep. You cover Maya Lee's eyes and stroke her hair. The orcs crowd around the body, and they all hang their heads low in silence. A quick discussion is made, and Dura and another man both lift the body and carry it out of the cave. A few others follow behind with shovels in hand. Mock and Rock watch for a moment and soon sprint outside as well. Errol and Ark have sat up. They're observing, but, like you, they maintain a careful distance from the orcs. At this point, you realize the traveling party is just a collection of 3 separate groups, forced to stay together and suspicious of the others. You catch Errol narrowing her eyes at you before looking away and whispering into Ark's ear. You hear the sound of digging outside. You peer out and watch as 2 men struggle to pierce into the frozen ground. Rock digs at the dirt, but it's hard as stone. Mock steps forward and casts a spell, excavating away the bits of loose earth in the area. As the men dig, the remaining orcs gather in a small circle, their backs turned to you. Lasha begins to lead them through some sort of chanting ritual, humming and moaning as everyone stomps their feet to the hard ground. Despite the earnestness of their singing, you can sense the weariness in their bodies. They have very little energy left to give. After they finish, they begin to parade back into the cave. Soon, they murmur amongst themselves, with Lasha seemingly mediating the conversation. If they're discussing plans, they may very well be talking about what to do with the three of you, and whether they've changed their minds on keeping you alive or not. This might be an essential opportunity to gauge the situation. You can't cast any spells beyond cantrips today, but perhaps you can do a ritual spell. Your mother taught you comprehend languages long ago to eavesdrop on conversations as a protective measure. Salt and soot, you remember, were the material components. They must be carefully rubbed into the ears as you chant comprehension in ancient Elvish. You pick off a piece of blackened, burnt cloth from Miley's sleeve. You reach under your shirt and scratch at your armpits. Sweat-drenched layers of skin embed themselves into your fingernails. You rub your fingers together in circles, and you bring them up to your face, catching a whiff of the rotten stench. You smear the mixture just inside your ear, and you chant as quietly as you can into your jacket collar. About 5 minutes in, you notice Maya Lee looking up at you nervously. You smile at her and give an affirming nod. She pushes herself up. Bach, too, sits up, yawning and stretching his arms. Errol glances over at you, and you quickly spin around. The 10-minute ritual completes, and all of a sudden, the incomprehensible conversation amongst the orcs changes to perfect Elvish. She has been leading alongside Ernog this entire time, says Lasha. The orcs have all gathered back into the cave, forming a small circle. She is best suited to take over. She is not a direwolf tamer, another voice says. What use is taming the direwolves when we have only one runt? Asks Lasha. A few individuals grunt in agreement. Someone mumbles under their breath, and you can't quite make out the words. You cup your hand to your ear. Much of the whispering conversations are still unintelligible. You look over your shoulder at Errol, who's staring at you with suspicion. She knows you cast some sort of spell. Nothing gets past this bitch. We will need someone who can speak Sylvan well, Elder Lasha. You recognize this as Dura's voice, especially if we are to enter the forest. Only you have that capability. I am too old, as I've said, but only you have the depth of knowledge that we need. Perhaps Elder Lasha can provide guidance to Dura, a new voice chimes. I already have that responsibility, says Lasha. That was my plan, all along. More grunts in approval. Will she be willing to lead us? This sounds like a lure. Even if she does not want to, is she in a position to refuse? She is more or less already our leader. The conversation continues. You've lost interest at this point. All that matters to you is what they'll do with you three, though you're not sure if having Dura take over will be a good or bad thing for your survival. Laurel? Asks Bach. You glance up at him. His eyes and cheeks are sunken in. There's an almost manic look on his face. His body is jittery. What's wrong? You ask. Are you all right? He peers anxiously at Maya Lee, and then points at his own head. You nod and establish a telepathic link. Didn't sleep well? Do you think Mr. Sanos is really dead? What do you mean? When the soldiers came, I heard Mr. Sanos in my head. Like a sending spell? It was like when you talk in my head. He said, I will find you. Your heart drops. Wait, you say. The ground seems to have been pulled from beneath you. What are you saying? You think Sanos is still alive? Bach nods his head. Your mind goes blank. You stare at the ground, at your dirtied boots. I don't see how that's possible. We all saw him die at the bottom of the stairs. But I heard him. You glance at Maya Lee, who's staring at the both of you apprehensively. She's fully aware that she's being left out of a secret conversation happening right in front of her. You pat her on the head and smile. Laurel, what if he's the one who made the soldiers come? Asks Bach. What? The orcs don't know how the soldiers found us, but maybe Sanos did it. The realization hits you. If Sanos is, in fact, alive, then he can easily track your whereabouts. This was something you warned Maya Lee and Bach against, but you believed you were safe because he was dead. If he's tracking you, then he could have very possibly notified the Ellie soldiers. Barely lifting a finger, without even having to leave New Everlon, he could have orchestrated the entire thing, sending information over with only a simple communication spell. Your entire body begins to shake uncontrollably. The air is too thin to breathe. Laurel? Asks Bach. No, it can't be. Why would he do that? Bach and Maya Lee are like precious goods to him, more valuable alive than dead. He wouldn't just turn them over to bloodthirsty soldiers. Laurel, what if the orcs got killed because of me? What? No, you say. We should tell them the truth. No. You grab Bach's shoulders. Maya Lee flinches to this, and you relax your hands. Bach, we absolutely can't tell them. Not yet, at least. We don't know if he really is alive. We shouldn't jump to conclusions so easily. None of this makes sense. But I heard him. It's not him. You're just imagining things, all right? It's definitely not true. A look of devastation comes to Bach's face. His breathing grows heavy and erratic. Laurel? No, absolutely not. It's not true. I just don't believe it. You saw him die. You saw it. Your finger shooting out the firebolt, the sound of his bones cracking on the floor. How could he have lived? But if he did, and he actually did all of that, it means your failure to kill him led to dozens of people dying yesterday. It means that by escaping with Bach and Maya Lee, you were partially responsible for the orcs. Laurel? Bach, we have to be rational about things, all right? Think. You need to think this through. I thought when we got out, I wouldn't have scary thoughts anymore, but they keep coming back. Am I just crazy? No, buddy. We're all just tired and stressed and hungry and cold. It's perfectly normal. What's going on? Asks Maya Lee. She can clearly see the hysteria on both of your faces. You force another smile as you gaze into her eyes. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. You look at Bach. Really? But, says Bach. All right, let's do this instead. I'll figure out whether or not it's true. I can contact my brother, and he'll be able to tell us if he's alive, right? He'll be able to confirm it. Bach searches your eyes, on the verge of tears. He nods. Okay. Let's not share this with anyone else yet until we know. That's reasonable, isn't it? Bach nods again. Okay. You're smart, Laurel. I trust you. Listen to me. No matter what, none of this is your fault. A lot of people died, says Bach. Don't think about it like that. You don't need to worry about a thing. Just let me handle it. Maya Lee shakes your knee. She's pouting. Just tell me. Do you hate me? I'm sorry about what happened. No, Lily, you whisper. You kiss her on the forehead. None of this was your fault. You gaze at Bach as well. Immediately, he also steels himself. He forces a smile and pats her on the back. We were just talking about what to do. Because I gave myself away? Says Maya Lee. No. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. She hugs you and starts to cry again. There's a commotion amongst the orcs, their voices all blending into this incomprehensible noise. Hey, you whisper, elbowing the two of them. Guess what spell I relearned how to do? Maya Lee blinks away her tears and sniffles. What spell? Asks Spock. You lean in. I just cast a spell that lets me understand any language. I can hear what the orcs are saying right now. Really? Says Bach. What are they saying? Asks Maya Lee. They want Dura to be the next leader. As you say this, you hear Dura loudly declare, I will not. We do not have another, says Lasha. Mach is the next in line, not I. Mach is a child. You and Ernog were betrothed. You believe I can lead us because I slept with the former leader? Yarek entrusted you to Ernog for your wisdom and foresight, says Lasha. He saw you as the right match for his son and for his people. I cannot. When we had no food, was it not you who led the hunting party to bring back meat night after night? When we were ill, was it not you who found water in the cave for us? We are all here today because of your foresight. The others grunt in approval. I found the elves and brought them here thinking they were furbolgs. You did it because you saw an opportunity, and you may still be correct. Or I may have brought the elves on us. I brought forth our demise. The others mumble quietly to themselves, and though you don't look over, you can feel their gazes on you. Lasha sighs. My heart tells me that is not the case. A deep sense of guilt and shame washes over you. The stench of those burnt corpses, the horrible wailing, all these people who perished before your eyes. What if you are responsible? My time on this land is limited, says Lasha. I will guide you as much as I can, just as I will teach Mach what I know. If you wish to hand your authority to him when he comes of age, then so be it. I don't want it, says Mach. Have they said anything about us? Asks Maya Lee. A little bit just now, you say. Lasha trusts us, I think. But the others? Asks Bach. For now, I think we're all right. Excuse me? You turn to see Ark approaching, waving sheepishly at your group. Errol is still seated where she was, still watching you intently. Morning, you say, straightening your back. Morning. I just wanted to give you your breakfasts. He holds his hand out and offers 3 pemmican bars, still a little soggy from yesterday. You nod. Thanks. You take them and hand 1 each to the other 2. He bows his head and ducks away, shuffling back to Errol as he takes more rations for the orcs this time. The remainder of the morning, the orcs wrap up their talk. They seem to have reached a consensus on Dura taking over, and though you can sense a few begrudging voices, the 3 of you are safe for the time being. Everyone finishes their breakfast, and soon everything is packed away as you prepare for the long journey ahead. The travel is slow. The ground is frozen, even under the sunlight. You, Bach, and Maya Lee stay in the back of the pack. Up front, Drak and Dura lead the group. Ark and Errol stay with Lasha and Mach, keeping their heads low. You can tell Bach is having trouble keeping up, dragging his feet and wobbling side to side. You can't lean on him for support anymore. How many bad nights of sleep in a row has it been for him? How long have you ignored the obvious signs of his deterioration? Maya Lee is a bit calmer now that food is in her belly, but she's still noticeably anxious. She knows you had a discussion where she was kept in the dark. Her eyes keep glancing up at you and Bach, and every time she stumbles or bumps into you, she apologizes profusely. Everything is falling apart. You promised you'd take them home, but at what cost? Before you know it, the sun is setting again. You've managed to remain dissociated for most of it, imagining a warm hearth in place of the frigid air, Amena's breath on your neck, her bare arms holding you, desire in her eyes. All these possibilities and opportunities you once had for your life, you squandered it all away. Tonight, under Dura's first major decision, you all sleep outside, completely exposed to the rapidly freezing weather. With no natural shelters nearby or resources to build one, you're given permission to light a few campfires. You know the rising smoke will risk being seen by New Everlon's scouts, but, at least for you, you'd rather be burnt to ashes by a fireball than frozen to death in your sleep. Elise, you hear at the usual time as you hold your hands over the dimly flickering fires. His voice warms you more than these paltry flames. Where are you sleeping tonight? I'm still with the people who took us in, you say, which isn't technically untrue. I wanted to ask, have you heard anything new regarding Sanos? There's a long and tense silence as you wait. You hold your ration over the fire. Maybe they'll taste better a little roasted. The very tip burns your tongue. It's now bitter. I've been keeping up with him, you hear in your head. He was on the news recently, for a new paper he published. This was last week. Your stomach drops. You swallow a mouthful of the mush. Of course. Of fucking course. If Sanos were truly dead, he'd have made the news by now. And your brother would have told you that. Fuck. He has to be tracking either Bach or Maya Lee. This whole time, you thought you could safely journey out in the open. Stupid. How could you let this happen? How could you overlook this? You glance at Maya Lee and Bach, both chewing slowly, staring blankly into the fire. They look so tired and empty. Elothor, you reply. Is it too much to ask for your help again? Do you have anything that can forestall scrying? He's tracking us. A moment passes, and he responds for a third time to you. I'll do what I can, but I can't keep protecting you. Being scryed on isn't easy to prevent, especially with his resources. You shrink into yourself, and you put your hands over your head, pulling your knees to your chin. I know. I'm sorry. I know you hate me, but we need this. Anything. I won't ask for help after this. Laurel? Asks Bach. Both of them are staring at you worriedly. Maybe, temporarily, you can have either Maya Lee or Bach attuned to the amulet so that they won't get scryed on. But what you really need is something much more potent. If Bach can cast Detect Magic, maybe you can utilize that too. Except the spell only lasts 10 minutes. You smile, straightening yourself and resting your hands on your lap. It's nothing, you say, shaking your head. I was just talking to my brother. He's checking on us, as usual. Bach looks expectantly at you. You establish the telepathic link, meeting his gaze. I asked him, like I said I would. And? Sanos is dead. There's nothing to worry about. There's a look of relief on his face, followed by sudden grief again. You want to cry for doing this to him, but it's better this way. It's for his own good, his own well-being. If he knows the truth, if either of them know the truth, they'll be completely broken, and they're both so fatigued as it is. You'll figure this out somehow. On your own.